Well, hey, everybody, I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you enjoyed part one of our interview with Bob West. Part two is on deck for you right now, and he talks all about staying connected with your spouse when you have a special needs child, and that can be tough, and you got to be intentional. So there's some great content in this video for you. If you like the content, if you like what we're putting out on the Family Makes Waves channel, hit subscribe so you can get all the updates. There's going to be at least 2 or 3 more parts on this series. So without further ado, here's part 2 of our interview with Bob West. So you're a young family. How did that affect your relationship? Like you and Sue, I mean, was it just automatically, okay, we're a team, we're going to do this? Did she have to comfort you every night? or vice versa? I mean, what did that look like?
Yeah.
Kind of a personal question.
Yeah, you know what? I think as individuals, we all process differently, right? Sue and I are not identical. Matter of fact, I married my opposite. And so, you know, I love her to death, but she does not process things the way I do. And so, having us both on the same page at the same time wasn't happening at that time, right? There'd be a time where she would just start bawling, right? And I'm there as a fumbling guy going, what do I do? You know, she's crying, are you okay? You know, you're okay, right? you know, trying to deal with, and then there were times where I was just, you know, depressed and struggling with it. And also the way I internalized it, you know, I became a Christian in my early 20s. And so, you know, after we'd had this kid, I'm, you know, incorrectly thinking, not understanding how God deals with us sometimes, I was thinking, well, is this payback for all my early sins? You know, I had
Yeah.
you know, done a lot of things I'm not proud of in my youth. Is this payback for what I did, or is it hereditary? Is it in my genes? Is it in her genes? You know, you're just there's so much you're trying to process, and really, you know, the great thing is that we both knew the Lord. You know, we both were committed to each other. There was no question in our minds that we're in this for life as a married couple. It makes all the difference in the world, because, you know, there are times when you're not talking to each other, right? You're just both in a different place. And so being able to, you know, it's almost like, you know, the ebb and flow, right? You cross paths, you connect again, you go off, you know, and understanding, I'm sure these couples that are listening to this understand, when you have a child in your marriage, right, your time together definitely gets reduced.
Yes.
Right? And then each kid comes along, it gets harder and harder to find time to be with each other and to spend time alone and to hold your marriage together and spend that time. Well, throw in weekly, you know, I mean, we're talking almost daily appointments and therapy and doctors, and then we had surgeries, and we had, you know, he had a dozen surgeries over his lifetime, and time recovering and dealing with specialists and dealing with Social Security and all that stuff that had to go on just adds to the pile.
Yeah.
And so it was really important that we actually did things that allowed us to connect again, like trying to get away, you know, and unfortunately that can be difficult for people who have a child with a special need. You know, I was talking to a couple just recently, and they just, you know, they really didn't have anybody in their first few years or they didn't also feel comfortable leaving their child with somebody. He had so many medical fragile needs, and there were very few people who could watch their kid. But you know, it was awesome in our lives. My in-laws were just a godsend. They stepped in and were really intentional about taking our kids, understanding what our kids needed, taking our kids and letting us go away and have a weekend on occasion, you know, to be able to still connect with each other and have that marriage. And I think that's so important, to find those times. I know so many parents can feel like, I can't do that, my kid's too fragile, right? You got to figure it out, whether it's grandparents, and grandparents can make all the difference in the world, or it's finding, there are organizations that will do respite care, even for just a couple of hours, where you can drop off your kid and have that time. They take care of, you know, they have nurses and things. So finding those organizations that do that to be able to have those moments together, because they're going to be scarce, but having those can make all the difference in the two of you connecting.
So really making that a part of the plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that has to be a part of it. I mean, even with healthy kids, we know how important it is to be able to get away and reconnect with each other. So if you have a special needs child, what you're saying is you got to make that part of the plan. You got to allow grandma and grandpa who have been appropriately tooled up, to do that, or allow a respite person to do that.
It can be scary, right? You're any parent, like that first time you leave the child with someone is scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think about that. If the child has fragile medical needs that may or may not be very serious, it can be scary. But for parents to be able to do that, to work to get to that point of doing that, and the thing is, I mean, we all know this. We can blink and all of a sudden realize 2 years have gone by and we haven't done anything, right? We've just been so concentrated on our children. And I know those super moms out there, they can just get hyper focused on that kid, right?
Yep.
They're gonna do everything. They're gonna solve this issue, and that's not always doable. It's not always a solvable, or even in the short term solvable.
Right.
So setting that pace and making sure those times of rest are in there is really important.